We read the book What Great Teachers Do Differently, 17 Things That Matter Most by Todd Whitaker, which lists principles that separate great teachers from the rest, and we decided to highlight 6 of these today. The first one is that great teachers never forget that it is people, not programs, that determine the quality of a school. A program can help improvement, but the program itself does not lead to the improvement, because even good ideas can fail if they're not acted on by good teachers. And so it's not what you do, but it's how you do it. Teachers, like students, have different strengths and weaknesses.
For example, some teachers might write students' name on a board when they're misbehaving as a form of assertive discipline, while one teacher might be able to use this discipline and get their classroom back under control. Another teacher may try the same approach and not be able to get the classroom under control. It all depends on the different students and the different teachers and their way of approaching the situation.
So the next thing that we want to bring up is that when a student misbehaves, great teachers have one goal: to keep that behavior from happening again. And so you're looking at the dynamic of prevention versus revenge. Great teachers want to prevent future misbehavior, whereas other teachers focus on simply punishing a student after something has occurred. And so they're focusing on the past and what they can't change rather than looking to change the future. You see this a lot of times when parents are talking about, well, last year's teacher, or when I was in school, blah blah blah, and they compare it to their child's schooling. But in reality, teachers can't change the past. They can only work to prevent future misbehavior.
What can I do when a student misbehaves? They shouldn't just listen to what they would do, but also what any teacher might do. They should also ask, which of these approaches always works? And the answer is none of them. No approach will work 100% of the time, and they need to remember that sometimes they'll have to switch it up and try new things. They should ask themselves, does every teacher have the same options? And the answer is yes. Even though approaches are different, every teacher is equipped with the same tools. They just have to choose how to use those. Teachers should ask, when is sarcasm appropriate in the classroom? The answer is never. That's one thing that never changes, because teachers really need to be careful to be sensitive of the students. They should also ask, who decides how many arguments you can get into in a week? And the teacher decides that, because the teacher should never win an argument with the student. They should, in every situation, decide to react calmly to the situation and not seek to win, but seek to move forward and grow from the situation. Outside of an emergency, for example, watch out for acid, when is it appropriate time for yelling in the classroom? And the answer is never. Teachers should make sure that they are never acting out of anger with the students.
The third principle we want to highlight is actually two, because they go hand in hand. The first is great teachers have high expectations for students, but have even higher expectations for themselves. And the next is that great teachers know they are the variable in the classroom. They consistently strive to improve and focus on something they can control, their own performance. So these are similar because they both deal with what teachers believe of themselves and what they take responsibility for. Even the worst teachers can have high expectations for their students, but the key is what they require of themselves. So if students are not engaged or learning, who does the teacher believe needs to change? A good teacher will take that on them and switch up their approach. They should also have high expectations for themselves, because they are also to never stop learning. Example, a teacher gives a spelling test and her students don't score higher than 55%. This good teacher will be aware that it happens, and she'll look for ways to improve her teaching, because that's what she can control. But Miss Bad Teacher will likely blame the kids, their parents, or administration. Another example is employers will often blame schools for the poor behaviors of workers, so they can't spell or show up on time. But reality is, if the employers never called for references on the students' behaviors, it's on the employers for hiring them. They were not forced. And so this is important to remember in classroom situations, because you have to be careful who you blame, whether you're shifting that to the students or you're taking responsibility and looking to see how you can do better moving forward. Next, great teachers work hard to keep their relationships in good repair to avoid personal hurt and to repair any possible damage. While it might sound obvious, you should avoid behaviors that harm your students or hurt their feelings, because when a relationship is damaged, that has serious impacts and you may lose your voice. As a teacher, you will still make mistakes, and so a key aspect is being able to apologize for those when you do make them. A really powerful technique when dealing with any relational hurt is "I am so sorry that happened," because this doesn't accept blame, but it acknowledges frustration and hurt. These relational skills are so important to model in the classroom because students need to see them in practice to be able to develop these critical life skills. This can be used when a parent is ranting to a teacher and the teacher can respond, "I am so sorry that happened," in order to show their concern, but you don't have to be happy about it, but it's a way to keep your cool and not have a demeaning tone when dealing with them. Another example is when a student is upset because they haven't put in the work and now they have a bad grade in the class. So the phrase "I'm so sorry that happened" doesn't condone their actions, but it can help comfort and calm them down before you encourage them to work harder and do better next time. The highlight was that great teachers have a plan and purpose for everything they do. If plans don't work out the way they had envisioned, they reflect on what they could have done differently and adjust accordingly. So by having a plan, you're taking responsibility, and planning means planning ahead. So you prepare for things to go wrong. You don't just have a plan A, but you have a plan B or even potentially a plan C as well. You also have to consider what is the purpose behind your decisions. So are you teaching just to get paid, or are you teaching to achieve a specific goal that will better your students?
For example, if you assign a group project for the students where they're allowed to pick their own partners, you may find yourself in a situation where a group of 3 boys or 2 girls are always together and they're never getting anything done. So you will want to adjust to this and maybe next time try to assign groups yourself instead of letting them choose. Another example is maybe every month there's a school assembly and you always sit against the wall and listen to the assembly a couple feet away from the students, and you notice that some students, maybe Rebecca and Trisha, are always talking and giggling the whole time and causing a distraction and a disturbance. So in order to react differently next time and cause a different outcome, you could decide to sit closer to the students so that they're less likely to act out.
So those are just a few principles that we pulled from the book and decided to share with you. But if you'd like to learn more about these, again, we read What Great Teachers Do Differently, 17 Things That Matter Most.